Here we will explore the third aspect of maintaining price relevant master data fields. Here we have the first aspect we looked at, second aspect. Both of these were related to our customers. Now we'll be looking at the material groups, which are going to be related to the types of materials that we are selling. So if we hit choose here, this is going to bring us to the material groups. And here you can see there are some predefined material groups which don't have descriptions of their own. And what we'll be doing here is we'll be dividing out our materials into two different parts. Now, oftentimes you have seen that there are going to be two different types of materials that are placed inside, say, your clothing. Oftentimes you have like something like a spare button. In that case, that is a spare part. If you have your normal buttons of a shirt, those are priced differently. Those are going to be the standard parts that you have. So what you can do is you can create these two different categories where one is going to be pricing based on the type of part it is. And if this is a spare part, we do something like 001, and here we do 02. Here we write out our description. So we say spare part, and here we write out something like standard part. Then we can divide out our materials into two different types. One is a spare part, one is a standard part. Also, what you can do is when you have selling a spare part, or when you're going to be selling sort of like a substandard part, which is sort of a replacement for a temporary portion, you can also create one for that. You can say something like temporary part. So this is going to be holding it like a duct tape type of setup that you have done, and instead of placing the correct part in, you're going to be using the temporary part, which was either the spare part that you provided, or is just a temporary part the consumer has found and is using that until the full fixture has been placed inside. So we can make these three types of material groupings here, and you can see that we have data our saved, and we have created these three different groupings, and we have our spare part, standard part, and temporary part. When you're going to be shipping one unit, you're actually going to be calculating both of these inside that sales order. So how do you do this? What you will be doing is when you create your shirt, say for example you attach it to the t-shirt itself, in that case you're going to be having two different groups to which you reference. For the first, say 10 buttons, you're going to be referencing the standard parts, and for say the two buttons that you have, you're going to be referencing for these spare parts, and you're going to be having two different materials there, and both of these will be belonging to two different groups that we have defined here. However, you're going to be having basically the same material copied over twice, just belonging to a different group, where one is having spare part and one is having standard part. This is only sort of like a tag for the sales aspect of the business. It doesn't really have any difference for the way that the button looks or feels, or if you're working for temporary parts, that might be the case. However, for spare part versus standard, this might not be the case. The button might look and feel the same, and when you attach it, it's going to be working just fine. But when you create your shirt, you're going to be having the creation be such that you have 10 of these materials, and you have two of these different type of materials, which are the spare part materials, inside your bill of materials. Bill of materials is something you can learn about inside the production planning aspect of SAP. And the production planning aspect is where you plan how the, say, product is going to be created. In the materials management, you say, these are the materials I'm going to be managing in terms of quantity, where they're to be located, how I am buying these materials, whose fulfillment should I be doing, so is there a customer order, and those are in the materials management. In the production planning, you're going to be looking at, do I need to include these spare parts, and you're going to be given like a spreadsheet where you just fill out two spare parts, 10 standard parts, one temporary part, so on and so on. So with this we can end this lecture, and let's move on to the next one.